Yeah, Coach, just get ready for the opener. Just how exciting is this week? Just as games are finally here and you guys can finally get on the court.
Yeah, exciting is a great word for it. You know, sleep patterns start changing the closer you get. Usually not for the better. You start getting anxious and excited, ready to roll it out and get to play. But our guys are ready. You know, we've been through our early season and then into our practices here, and we're probably, I don't think we're sick of practicing against each other as much as we're ready to play against somebody else. But had a spirited practice yesterday in a good way, and guys are getting closer and closer here to figuring out role identification and style of play and the together and everything that goes along with that. So certainly fired up.
You guys have an interesting dynamic where a lot of times if a new coach comes in, you just mentioned it with Augie, whole new roster. You've got a mix of the newcomers and the guys who have been here a little while. How has that worked, and how has that been to your advantage to have that mix, you think?
Oh, I think it's for sure an advantage, and I would say even a majority of our roster, if you look at it, is returners. Have added a couple pieces that we needed, specifically the guard spot, and Emorie sitting here next to me is one of those guys. But even though in a lot of ways of scheme, we are starting from ground zero with a new staff and some of that stuff, just the familiarity of culture and things Northwest, and obviously a tradition and understanding of winning of those guys returning has helped us speed up for sure.
Emorie, just coming in, what the obvious one, what made you want to be a part of this program, and what kind of sold you on coming to Maryville, Northwest?
Honestly, I'm a big basketball player. Like, that's what I do. So just knowing about them from previous and knowing like they have a winning record and they have good players and a good coach usually. No offense to Coach. I mean, Coach.
We might end the coach.
I feel like we have a lot to live up to. So me and him both, we have a chip on our shoulder and we have a lot to prove. And so that's pretty much why I came here, because we both have a lot to prove and I would like to win some games.
He was talking about obviously in there about how they rely on you to set the tone. How do you kind of embrace that role as that guy who's been around and played a lot of D2 basketball and can set that tone?
Yeah, my experience like playing basketball, I played Division I my first 3 years. I played D2 my 4th year, and this is my 5th year. So just coming in and knowing like I have a lot of experience and more than like most people on the team as far as like playing time and stuff. I just take a lot of pride in it, just because like I said, basketball is like what I love to do. And after, I would like to go play basketball. So I have a lot of passion for the game, and I don't take it as like pressure or anything like that. I take it as like, like you get to do this, like you get to wake up and you get to do this, you get to, like help run the team and all this other stuff. So I feel like it's very exciting.
Coach getting thrown in right into the fire, a couple NSIC teams. Traditionally, the NSIC and the MIAA have been about as tough as it gets. So is that exciting to kind of get thrown right into it, or would you just talk about that dynamic with the tough openers?
Yeah, for sure. And we've even talked about just in our program that winning is hard. In that we just mean that it's on purpose. A lot of times it doesn't happen by accident. So when you add up, the off season, and then you add up like the preseason conditioning and some of that stuff and the early practices, and now we're into our film prep and our scout and all that stuff. Regardless of how tough an opponent is, just your preparation that's needed each day at a high level, and then you add to the fact that the Midwest and specifically the two leagues that you mentioned, being traditional powers and stuff like that. So I like it. I think that's the best way to attack it. It's the reason that you come play in the MIAA, similar to the reason you would coach in the SEC in football. That you get to measure yourself up against some of the best, and then inside of the region. Obviously, the team that's been able to get out of our region has had a lot of success at the final site, and so let's tip it up and see where we're at in a good way, and maybe some things get exposed that we get to continue to work on and fix, and you really only know those things when you play against legit competition.
Emorie, are you kind of excited to, Coach has talked about the faster pace and everything that's going into this year. Are you kind of excited to be able to show fans finally this week what you guys can bring to the table and kind of that different style and everything that comes along with that?
Yeah, I know previously they played a little slower. So Coach coming in and bringing like a new style of play as far as pace, I feel like it's going to be very exciting just to watch. And then along with that, like we put a lot of time and effort into practice and like getting into shape and stuff like that. So I feel like it's just going to be fun to showcase, and you're just going to have to be there to see it.
Coach, he kind of talked about Emorie and what he brings to the table. Highlight some of your other newcomers. Who else should fans be keeping an eye on as we get ready for this first weekend?
Yeah, a couple of guys that we're going to rely on some is or one of the things that we do really well. I think we shoot the heck out of the basketball. I think we really, really shoot it well. Have put an emphasis, as we've talked, whether that be Emorie or even in the future to recruiting guys that can really shoot it and are kind of our kind of guys. And Luke Mustakis and Spencer Schomer's a couple of guys that have been here that are ready to step on the floor, do that at a high level as well. Patty Gallagher is a guy that redshirted here last year, and then Marcus Glock is a guy that is an incoming freshman or is a freshman for us, are also guys that along with Emorie, give us a lot of firepower in shooting the basketball. And so we've worked a lot to have quality possessions that end in great shots, because there's times because of their ability we can bail ourselves out by just simply making a shot at the end of a possession, which was maybe not as good as we had wanted it to be previous. So continuing to work together to create shots for those guys. Byron Alexander, obviously being a guy that has as much experience as anyone on our roster here, is another guy that we're going to rely on, not only on the floor but just kind of off the floor and minutes and tone and stuff like that. So those are guys that are going to be certainly key pieces for us.
Is Byron ready to go for this week and everything? I know there were some questions about kind of his health and everything off of last year.
He was banged up at the end of last year, but has had a good off season and is getting himself back into shape and we're a little to be determined on all that, but we certainly expect him to have an impact for us this year.